this is part 2 of our equine learning segment where we are actually going to put the saddle on Victor here. And I'm going to start by saying that a lot of times or most of the time we tack up our horses in their stalls. They're totally used to this and they don't mind one bit, but we have more space to take a video out here and it's lighter and easier to see. So there, as you've seen in previous videos, their saddles are in the tack room and they each have their own saddle. It's fitted to them. Saddle fit is really important to their comfort and the rider's safety when they're sitting on the saddle. If a horse is uncomfortable, they could react in an uncomfortable way. So we want to make sure that we're putting on the correct tack, and they have their names on it on the little name tags right here, if you're ever in doubt. They're all labeled with their names in addition to the name tag that's on their saddle rack. So we never want to store saddles on the ground. You can see here I have a portable saddle rack with me. We have the blocks of wood that we've showed you on their stalls that stick out. You can rest the saddles on there as well. So saddle pads are kept in a bin under the saddle racks. And we want to make sure we bring the saddle pad out with the saddle. That goes on first. So almost everything I'm doing when I'm putting the saddle on, I'm doing from the left side. And that's important. As you'll learn in horse handling and horse care, we lead from the left, we tack from the left, and that's our routine, that's how our horses are used to doing it, and it actually dates all the way back to medieval times. When knights would ride their horses, they did everything from the left. Their sword was on the left, so that when they drew their sword, they could take it out like that. So it's kind of cool how it dates back. There's a reason for it. So we want to make sure we're starting on the left. And sometimes it does help, especially when you're learning, to have a person on the off side. We're on the near side, but to have someone standing on the off side to help you is okay as well. So the saddle pad we're going to put it on a little higher than it is actually going to sit, right on top of their withers there, and then we're going to sort of inch it back in the direction of their hair. You'll see that most of the saddle pads have these little keepers here for the girth. They want to be in the front. This one has some embroidery on it too that makes it easy to tell where the saddle pad goes, but a lot of times we do see this. And you can see that the girth will not be able to go through those keepers if it's back here. Saddle pad here. Okay. And then you're going to pick up the saddle with 2 hands. And if you have trouble lifting high above your head, you want to make sure you get someone to help you with this part, because you want to lift it up higher than the horse. And Victor is pretty tall. You want to be able to set it down on their back nice and gently. And that's where having someone on the other side could potentially help, especially if it's your first time doing it. So we want to make sure before we fasten anything on the girth that the position is right in the saddle. And that means up here, you want to make sure that the saddle pad isn't tucked under the pommel into the gullet like we just talked about with the saddle parts. And we want to pull the saddle pad up into the gullet so that you can get your hand under there. And that's for the comfort of the horse. And then the billets, this saddle only has 2 billets. They're going to go down into this keeper here. Then when you want to walk around the front of the horse to go and make sure that you adjust it the same on the other side. You can see they were tucked under, and the saddle pad's a little tucked under on this side too. And a way to tell if the saddle is in its right spot is you can push on it and it shouldn't move. Once it's in that spot that it's supposed to be, you shouldn't be able to push it back. Okay? So we're going to walk back around the front to the other side of the horse to attach the girth. So we have, this is a girth, and this was not on your part of the saddle chart, but all the girths, they pretty much all look the same at CTR. They're mostly universal, which means both sides look the same. We attach the girth from the left side, and we want the name tag, because every girth has a name tag on it. We want that to be on the left side as well. And when you put the girth on, do not, fight the urge to put the girth all the way up, because you want to make sure that you have enough girth to attach on the other side, especially if the horse is particularly rotund. Put it on a lower hole and make sure that they're also even. You can see that you have, I'm on the second hole on both sides. Then you're going to let the girth hang down. And since I'm putting the saddle on by myself in this case, I have to come over to the other side of the saddle, reach under the horse and grab the girth. So when you're reaching, you just want to kneel down and grab the girth. You don't want to sit down or go under the horse for any reason. So you can see I have plenty of billet strap over here to attach the girth. I'm going to put it up a little higher on this side, knowing that I have to go to the other side again to adjust it.
Megan, why do you put it through that particular part of the buckle?
This buckle has a roller on it. That's a good question. Let me show you. So we see this a lot. If you were to put the billet through here, it is really hard. It does not slide up, and it really doesn't slide off easily at all when you go to take the girth off. The top slat here has a roller on it, which makes the ease of tightening and loosening the girth much easier. And we want to make sure it's even. And then we're going to go to the other side to tighten it. We want it to be, for the comfort of the horse, we want it to be relatively even on both sides. It's okay if it's not exact. And this is another thing that we see a lot that we really want to discourage, is we take the girth strap and we yank it up. That's going to cause a very grumpy horse over time. You want to make sure that you adjust the girth slowly and not yank it up. So when they're first getting tacked up to come to the arena, you do not need to make the girth so tight that a rider could get on. It just has to be tight enough that the saddle isn't going to slide around when they walk. So you can see I can still get my hand in here, but the saddle's not going anywhere. For now, we leave the billet straps out, because an instructor or a staff member will always check the tack before the rider gets on. This is no slight to you. We just always want to have a second pair of eyes on it. It's also a path standard that our instructors double check the tack, triple check the tack. You'll also notice that once you're riding, we check the girth again to make sure it's tight, because a lot of times what happens is either the weight of the rider will loosen up the girth because there'll be more weight in the saddle and thus less pressure on the girth. Or some of our horses are really smart and they like to puff out their bellies while we're putting their girths on. He is like king of doing that. Then when they get on, they exhale and their bellies shrink, and thus their girth is looser. So he's already done that. So when it's time, after the horses come in and warm up, we will make sure we tighten everything, and then after everything's tight, the billets go into there's little keepers in the girth. So you can see the stirrups are also rolled up here as opposed to, let me show you what they look like when they're down. This is in the down position when it would be ready for a rider to get on. We leave them rolled up when we are not in a lesson, because these bang against them as they walk around, and they can also very easily get caught on gates or doors in the arena or in their stall. So when they are not being ridden, I'm gonna put the stirrups back up. And this is something that you as a rider will do after you're done riding as well. So that is putting the saddle on. It takes a lot of practice. We are always willing to help you and answer any questions you have. And in a future segment, we'll talk about putting the bridle on.